All right, I think we are live here. Hey ladies, it's Katie Lambert, the founder of MOMnation, as you know, and I am super excited because I have another founder of something else, but very, very cool here with me today. Thank you so much for your time, Brad.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
You're absolutely welcome. I can't wait to share your story with all of the moms here. So this is Brad Taylor, and Brad is Lily's dad and the founder of Lily's Pad. So tell us a little bit, Brad, about your story and how this all came to be.
Okay. In December 19th, 2017, my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. We went into the hospital for an ear infection that we couldn't get rid of. She had spiked about 102-degree fever, and we finally brought her into the ER. We had been to countless doctors to try and get the ear infection settled. And the first thing the triage nurse said was, "We don't like her color. Is she usually this pale?" And of course, I didn't have much to respond to that. So we were immediately put into a room in the ER. And by 2 a.m. that morning, we found out that she had leukemia. And by 8 a.m. the following morning, I had signed enough documentation to buy a home. And by 8:05, she was undergoing her first surgical procedure. So from 8 p.m. the night before, an ear infection, to 8 a.m. that morning, full-blown cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
As a parent, I can't imagine receiving information like that, going in for one thing and then not coming out.
Yeah, we actually lived in the hospital for over a month, that phase of the treatment. We spent Christmas and New Year's in the hospital. She underwent countless procedures, blood draws, blood transfusions, chemotherapy. I actually left the hospital for about 30 minutes to go get an overnight bag when we found out that we were going to be admitted. We didn't know she had cancer at the time. We just knew that she was anemic. And they were trying to find out why. And so when I returned back to the hospital, the security guard told me that she was in the pediatric ICU, which was the first punch to the face, because I had no idea that she was going to go that far. We knew she was anemic. And then by the time I got up to the room, she had gone from in street clothes to a full-blown hospital gown, and she had monitors hooked up to her chest or her heartbeat to monitor her vitals. And then she had an IV in each hand, and she had fiberglass paddles that were taped onto her hands so that she couldn't pull them off. And so I walked into the room, and my daughter was asleep on the bed. My wife was in the corner staring out the window, and I didn't realize there was a surgeon actually in the room with us. She was in full-blown surgical gown. She was an oncologist. And that's when she broke the news to me. She had already told my wife without me being there. So it was the beginning of a tidal wave. That's really the only way I can explain it. It was an emotional tidal wave that took our lives in a completely different direction in the blink of an eye.
And she was how old again at this time?
3. She was 3 years old. So that was our first Christmas really that we were going to be, where kids can kind of recognize what Christmas is and get excited about it.
Right.
We had just moved into a new home. And so, yeah, we very quickly changed gears and went from where we were at to that phase.
How did she handle being all strapped up and?
Not well, not well. She was infuriated with the paddles that were taped to her hands. She obviously had no idea what was going on.
Right.
One of the most pivotal pieces I can remember was after signing all these documents, asking the doctor, now keep in mind, this was only 12 hours after we had gone in for an ear infection. And I asked the doctor, I said, "When do we start treatment?" And she looked across the table at me and said, "Now." And I said, "Now as in later today?" And she said, "No, I need you to go get your daughter now, and I need you to wheel her into the hospital room, and we're going to operate on her right now." Wow. So we went back. She was in the room crying and attached to all sorts of machines, and we wheeled her down the hallway on a hospital bed, and the doors closed as she was reaching for us, crying, and that's when we started our trip down the rabbit hole. So.
What kind of support system or any suggestions that the medical team made for you as parents? Is there anything that you could tap into to just help you cope with this?
Well, I will say at that point, there was a number of organizations that did step up immediately. The social workers obviously are the ones that reach out to the different organizations that are available. And so when we returned back after a pretty severe procedure, our hospital room was filled with toys and presents for her to open. It was an incredible emotional moment for us to recognize that there were other people out there supporting our cause, even though we didn't even know we had a cause yet. I mean, it was only within 36 hours that this had happened. So, you know, it was an incredible moment for me to realize that there is a support system out there. This is going to sound strange, but in the past, my family, we own a catering business. And so we had been active fundraisers for other people. And so when the shoe's on the other foot, it was a strange, humbling experience to come back and recognize that I needed it. I needed the help. I needed the boost. I needed the shot in the arm. And so there was a lot of those experiences as we went through this battle, and we're still going through the battle. She is not finished until April 28th of 2020. It's a 2.5-year battle. This morning, she was on the bathroom floor throwing up and because of the chemo that she still takes daily. And then she went to school. I know these kids are incredible. I mean, when you look at the resilience that these children have, I mean, things that you and I would stay at home for, you know, she brushes her teeth and puts her clothes on and heads to school and smiles through it all. So, you know, it's heart-wrenching, but it's uplifting at the same time to watch and recognize the spirit of these kids that go through this stuff. I would guarantee you there's probably 4 or 5 families that are close to you that you have no idea they're going through something similar to this. My child goes to school every day with a smile on her face, and she's thrown up in class multiple times. The teacher knows to keep a trash can near her. They don't even send her home anymore when she throws up, unless it's a couple times in a row. I mean, it's just the process. It's not fun to go through, but it's the hand that we've been dealt, and we're playing it the best that we can.
Oh, what a tough little peanut. So take me through. So we had that first surgery. She came to the room. She had a bunch of presents. Really cool. Take me through the journey of, you know, more treatments and that kind of thing, and kind of how you got the idea about Lily's Pad.
Okay, so my daughter, when she first went in, had no immune system. Cancer, a lot of times, will mask itself as a white blood cell, which is in effect your immune system. So my daughter didn't have a typical bacterial ear infection like every kid gets. She had a fungal ear infection, which is also potentially life-threatening. It was eating the tissue in her ear at the time. We ended up having to have surgery for that as well. And so she's deaf in one ear right now because she has no eardrum in that ear. They were also concerned because fungus can get into your brain, and it can effectively eat the tissue in your brain too. So that was the first of our struggles. But the real main piece of it that keeps you in the hospital is the stage called neutropenia. What that means is immunocompromised. That means that these children have no immune system because when they start the chemo simply kills fast-growing cells. So your fast-growing cells in your body are like your hair. That's why your hair falls out. Your immune system is also a fast-growing cell. When you get a cold, your body mounts a response immediately. And that's when it amps up the amount of white blood cells that are being produced in your bone marrow. And it sends those white blood cells out to kill the germs. And that's how you get better. So what they do is they eradicate all of the bad cells, but they also eradicate the good cells in the process too. My daughter effectively has all new bone marrow at this time because they're killing off her bone marrow. That's why her legs ache every day. Most of your bone marrow is in your femurs. So she actually aches from the inside out. It's a very challenging thing to deal with as a parent because there's nothing I can do but give her oxycodone, which is another thing that drives me bonkers, but it is a part of the process. So what we've discovered through the process is these kids go into this neutropenic phase all the time. And so we had to get her stable before she could go home, because once these kids are neutropenic and they get like, let's say they have something that's an apple, for example, that has maybe some type of bacteria on it. You know, you wash it, but it doesn't get all the bacteria off. The stomach will send neutrophils or white blood cells to go kill the bacteria. Well, if you don't have any, the brain spikes a fever because that's the only other response it has. So once you spike a fever, us as parents have less than, I think it's like 3 or 4 hours to get our kid to the ER because they're concerned that her port, she has a port in her chest, has potentially gone septic. So if it goes septic, that means the disease is spread across her body in less than 20 minutes.
Wow.
So anytime she would strike a fever, it was a minimum 48-hour stay in the hospital, even though it was over something as simple as eating an apple. So even though she wasn't sick, there was no problem. It's just that the body sets that response. The hospital has to send in antibiotics to make sure that these kids are safe and that they don't die from a common cold. That used to be in the very beginning stages of cancer treatment. People didn't die from the cancer. They actually died from common colds or bacterial infections or pneumonia. And so that is what the main process is of getting better. They go through these hardcore chemotherapy treatments, which makes them neutropenic. You know, you go home, you keep them completely isolated, no family, no friends, no trips to the park, no trips to the movie theaters. You can't go to school any longer. So kids that are 15, 16 have to drop out of school. Your whole entire existence while you're going through the main phase of this type of treatment, 9 to 10 months, is to the hospital, super painful procedures, throwing up every morning, hair falling out, skin peeling off, and then coming home and doing nothing.
Oh, and she's 3 at this time.
And she turned 4 through that process, but yes, 3 and 4. And my daughter was super active. We used to go to the playground almost every day. You know, social interaction for her was huge. You know, these kids don't have access to social media or the internet. So their friends are at the playground or who they meet that day as their friends or their kids at school. So she had a whole troop of friends in preschool that she had to leave behind. Family relatives, cousins. She loves playing with her cousins, but they couldn't come over. We couldn't go to family gatherings anymore. It was literally every day to the hospital, shot in the leg, shot in the arm, blood draw, blood transfusion, chemotherapy, throw up, hair peeling off, mouth peeling off, you know, and then back at it again, over and over again. And how many times can you watch YouTube videos? How many times can you play with the same toys? And how many times can you watch, you know, I don't know, Netflix? So the breaking point for us and how we started Lily's Pad is I asked the doctor if I could take her out on drives. That was the thing, you know, I could keep the car clean. I could take her out and keep her in an environment that I was controlling. He said, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a Wednesday. We had already been through procedures and I drove by a playground, not on purpose. I just happened to drive by one in a beautiful neighborhood in Val Vista Lakes, actually. And she begged me to stop the car and get out and play. At this point, been 6 months of isolation. So please, Daddy. And she knew there was no treatments to go to. There was no people on the playground that I could tell her could potentially be sick. She knew that there was nothing for us to do but go home and watch TV or play with the toys that she'd already played with 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. She knew. And of course I had to tell her I can't, and she lost it. She mentally broke down. She was throwing shoes at me from the back seat. And so I had taken a terrible situation, made it 10 times worse. So eventually she cried herself to sleep as we drove home. I put her on the couch and I went up, took a shower. At that point I hadn't slept in, I don't know, 18 hours probably. I ran on 3 hours of sleep for 6-7 months. Jeez. And just they wake up with night terrors because of the chemotherapy. They hallucinate. So I took a shower and I just started praying, you know, just give me some reason, some answer, something to do with this information that I now have. And that's where Lily's Pad was born. The next morning I woke up and I thought there has to be a hyper clean play space somewhere. There are 22 cancer organizations that support pediatric cancer in the state of Arizona alone. Somebody has had to have thought of this before. So I got on the phone, I called my social worker. She had no idea what I was talking about. I talked to multiple doctors. Again, nobody had a clue about anything of this. We did a bunch of research. We searched all over the world, can find nothing like this. So we believe this to be potentially the first of its kind in the nation and also the first of its kind in the world. We're not sure.
Amazing. And again, chills everywhere, like what's happened about 10 times during this conversation.
Sorry.
What a story. Tell me a little bit about what Lily's Pad is going to look like some of the details.
Absolutely. So it is an indoor play space. So think about anything that you guys get to take your children to on a regular basis: trampoline parks, indoor playgrounds, gyms, that have climbing walls, rock climbing walls, playground equipment. We are setting up a very similar space that appeals to different age children. Our main demographic is elementary school kids all the way down, into infants, but we're not going to turn anybody away that has this diagnosis. Teenagers are welcome. I think that the need is not as much there for them, but it might be. I'm not sure. But our main goal is to give these kids a hyper clean play space to come and give the joy of childhood back to the children that are fighting these terminal illnesses. It's not just cancer. Kids that are burn victims have the same issues where they have no skin to protect themselves from the germs. So that's one of the main pieces that we're going to be focusing on. Children that have organ transplants, so heart transplants, liver transplants, they too go through neutropenia on a regular basis. Crohn's disease brings them into neutropenia. There are about 12 different disorders or diseases that we know of for now, and we've only done this for about a month, that put these kids into this state and make them isolated. One of the main pieces that we saw about this, my daughter used to be the leader of the pack. She is super sassy. She lost all of her ability to cope with children when she went back into public. She was terrified of the chaos, that playing with other children brought. She had a year spent with doctors and adults and mom and dad. So for her to go back out, she was terrified, and she was bald. So she went from being the girl with the super long curly hair to now boys walking up to me and asking me why I dressed my little boy in a dress. Oh. So it was heart-wrenching to go back as a parent and watch your child cower in the corner or cry. So we want to give back this social interaction, to these children so that they can see each other. They can see other kids that are bald or are missing limbs or skin, that they can interact with kids that fight their battle, so that they can say, I hear you, I feel you. And we want them to interact with one another in a hyper clean play space where they can just be kids. So the interior space is going to be about 4,000 square feet. We're still actively looking for a sponsored space to test this for 18 months. We have a $10,000 grant we've already earned to build the actual big piece of playground. So when you walk onto a playground and you see the slide and the ladders and the monkey bars and the bridge, we already have that paid for or partially paid for. So that's fabulous. That's going to be the main piece of the playground. We're utilizing, and we've already have it donated by Armor Heating and Air Cooling. They are going to be donating the internal air purification system. So our air will be as high a quality clean as the hospital's is. And I can't legally say this yet, but we believe to be way cleaner than a hospital. We're going to be using a product called Decon 7. This is a product the military invented to take care of dirty bombs that terrorists drop. So it is the same cleaning element that was used during 9/11. It's the same cleaning element that they use after every single terrorist attack. So the Boston Marathon, it's a fogging element that is static charged positively. All germs are negatively charged. So this attracts those germs, and it's good for 12 hours. We'll be cleaning this space twice a day with fogging guns. So according to Decon 7, they believe it will be the cleanest place in the world.
Amazing.
So these children can come in, they can interact with each other, they can climb on playground spaces, and they can be kids again. We're partnering with Arizona School of Nursing. They are going to provide volunteer nursing students to interact with these children and help them play, but also understand the medical needs that they have too. So if a child gets sick, they're able to clean it up immediately so that the other children can be still safe around them. And they're going to fulfill clinical hours while doing this. And they're super excited about working with us.
What a win-win.
Huge win-win for us and for them too. The other piece that really doesn't get as much attention is the parents. These are caregivers that have nonstop obligation to these children. And being MOMnation, you guys know how hard it is just to be a mom. Now let's add in chemo. You know how hard it is when your kid gets the flu and they're throwing up on a regular basis? Let's make that a daily process. Let's wake your children up at 3 o'clock in the morning with night terrors. You know, parents, my wife and I split rooms. We slept in different rooms for well over a year because one of us had to function in the morning to be able to get the kid up into the hospital on a regular basis. We both had to work through this process. We had $33,000 of out-of-pocket expenses in the first year, and that was with excellent insurance. Wow. Amazing insurance. I can't imagine what other people go through that don't have this type of insurance. My wife works for the city of Phoenix. It was an incredible thing for us to have that kind of insurance. I can't imagine co-pays without that type of insurance. So in the first 2 months, we underwent $10,000 worth of co-pays because we met the deductible for 2019 or 17 in December alone. Because we went in December 19th, so we spent a month in the hospital. So what we're giving is a parent's lounge. So there'll be nap pods, a place for parents to work, a place for parents to talk to each other. Keep in mind, the kids are isolated, but so are the parents. Yeah. They don't have anyone to talk to or speak to or be able to chit chat with different tips. You know, Chobani yogurt was the biggest thing for us to be able to get our kids to take her medicine. I would have given my right arm to have somebody tell me that ahead of time, like, hey, you need to try these things first. Oreo cookie cream in the center worked really well too. You know, think about trying to give your kid medicine when they're sick. Yeah. Now think about trying to give your kid medicine that tastes like acid every single day. It's horrible. So, yeah, and that's the struggles that these parents go through. So we're hoping to give them 2-3 hours to take a rest, take some sleep while their kid is being watched by people who are medically trained.
Much needed. Sounds so much needed.
It is needed. I don't know how it doesn't exist.
So what's your target date?
Our target date is April 29th, 2020.
Wow. So
my daughter's last treatment is April 28th, 2020. So our goal is for Lily to open the doors to Lily's Pad, cancer-free. And she already has a title. So she is going to be the vice president of cheerleading.
Did she choose that?
She did. Her goal through this whole process is to cheer other children on to be able to get past this. She wants to be able to point to the wall and say, I'm Lily, I beat this, and so can you.
How sweet.
Yeah, she's an amazing little girl. So we have an upcoming food truck fundraiser coming up November the 9th. Okay. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. It's in Gilbert. It's at Redemption Church in Gilbert. There's gonna be 7 to 8 food trucks out there. And when Lily heard about this, she asked if she could set up a lemonade stand so that she could help to build Lily's Pad faster. Oh. So her and mom have been baking lemon-shaped cookies, and she is excited to start a lemonade stand to be able to give kids back their childhood.
Oh, how cute. Well, I love lemonade, so I guess I'll be getting some lemonade and some lemon cookies. So if somebody wants to help with the cause, obviously they can donate. I'll post a link. There's a link in the caption for that. So obviously if somebody has it in their budget and they're able to do that, that's wonderful. But there's other ways to get involved that doesn't require any sort of donation, right? If they wanted to donate their time, for instance. Absolutely.
So let me back up to the financial donation real quick. We are eligible for the Arizona tax credit. So if you are looking for some place, dollar for dollar Arizona tax credit, if you talk to your accountant, you can put money into it and then you get every single dollar back on your Arizona taxes. So my wife and I have done that in the past for other organizations. We're going to be doing it this year for Lily's Pad. So it's a win-win all the way around. You just get to decide in essence where your Arizona tax dollars go. So that would be wonderful as we come closer to year end. We're going to be posting Amazon wish lists today onto our website, liliespadaz.org, and under the donate page. Those Amazon wish lists are the components that are going to make up the different play spaces. So Lily's play spaces are broken down into 4 different categories. There's obviously the big, large playground area, but there's area for other children that can't climb. There's some kids that'll be missing limbs. There's some kids that'll be too fatigued to be able to do that type of stuff. Right. So there's other activities that are there. There's an arts and craft area. There's an area where they can ride their bikes around a racetrack. That's also going to double as a movie theater so that we can hopefully bring in some movies for these kids to, have the movie theater feel. There's a little boat area that they can just kind of hang out and pretend that they're pirates and ship's captains. There's an infant area so that little toddlers and little kids can roam around. We're really trying to design this place for all those children that are from infant age all the way up until 10 to 12 years old. So there will be items, costumes, that they can play on, different items. There's a little stage where they can perform on. So there's a ton of items through the Amazon wish list that they can purchase, and they'll be shipped directly to Lily's pad, which is my home right now. And then those are tax deductible as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome, especially with the holidays coming up and everybody's in the groove of buying presents anyway.
And then also, we are in need of space. That's our biggest challenge right now, is to find sponsored space for approximately 18 months. We want to beta test this facility first before we jump in and purchase a building or even sign a lease for 5 years. I want to make sure that parents trust us enough to bring their kids here. I want to make sure that we can prove that we're the cleanest place. We really eventually hope that we're going to be reducing the amount of days that children spend in the ER that go through these processes, because parents get desperate eventually and they take their kids out to pumpkin patch or to a farm to pet animals or any other countless places, because frankly, there's nothing else to do. And then the kids get sick and end up in the hospital. So we're hoping to be able to offer this space and reduce, and improve the quality of life and reduce the amount of days these kids spend in the hospital. They spend so many days there already. So our goal is to be able to, hopefully, if we can prove that, to get the medical community involved and to support this and have one in every state.
Awesome. My heart goes out to you and your family. You guys are about to change a lot of lives, it sounds like. I am super excited to watch this get built and come to fruition and all of the wonderful stuff that's about to happen. So thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the moms out there. And thank you for your donation already through the Mom Prom. That was amazing.
Yes, absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to mention, as a group, we do this little thing every quarter that I call the Give Back Project. And actually this whole half of 2019, instead of per quarter, the Give Back Project is going towards Lily's pad. So we're going to be, we'll have the link out there. We'll have this video out there, for those that wish to donate through the holidays or with the wish list that you've created. So
thank you.
You are so welcome. We're very passionate about it. Good friend of mine, Nicole Osler, actually turned me on to you guys. And I'm
friend of mine from high school.
Awesome. All right, Brad, thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.